So I want to talk about this case, Masters versus the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So this is a Court of Appeals decision, Masters versus the Commonwealth of Kentucky on discretionary review from the Honorable Bruce T. Butler. Yeah, so this guy has a private practice, which means he's got a conflict of interest, and it also means he's corrupt. He is corrupt. And that wasn't the judge at the time. He was actually the attorney. So that's interesting. So you got Lambert, D. Lambert, and then it says judge before D. Combs, Lambert, and Nickel judges. So Jonathan Masters challenges the constitutionality of KRS 161-198, Kentucky statute addressing teacher abuse. The Breckenridge District Court held the statute constitutional, and the Breckenridge Circuit Court affirmed. Oh, big fucking shocker right there. This court granted discretionary review and now affirms. So let's take a quick look and see what a similar situation had happened between Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett. So Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett, they're going to have an exchange which was identical to what had happened with this principal and
Are you worried
Jonathan
that using
Masters.
your home address for business puts your privacy at risk? At iPostal One?
I don't even know how we got there, because I tried to make it clear how many civil rights, it doesn't just boil down to one conversation, but I can see that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all
I am
to tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you.
Chairman, I am reclaiming my time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am reclaiming my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not
Okay,
in order. Point of order.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that exchange there, but you have Jasmine Crockett, which called her a child. Nancy Mace got mad because, well, that's name calling. According to the Chaplinsky decision, you're not allowed to call people a racketeer. You can't call them a fascist. Name calling is fighting words. Name calling, according to the Chaplinsky decision, is fighting words. And if you go with Thomas Hobbes says that any gesture, any type of behavior, any words that are spoken which display hatred or contempt against another person, well, that's contumely. So that goes against the laws of nature, to insult somebody, to show hatred or contempt for somebody else. And so her calling her a child, that's fighting words. And then she says, do you want to take this outside? Now later on she's going to say, oh, she was just going to have a conversation. They were just going to have a cup of coffee. They were just going to, bullshit. Have a beer, have a nice friendly little chit-chat. Have a nice comfortable chit-chat while eating some club crackers and some sausages and cheese. Is that what we're talking about? So this situation is identical to what happened with Jonathan Masters in this case. So background. In December 2014, Masters got into a verbal disagreement with Keith Haynes, the principal of Clover Independent Schools. Now this is an important district for any students of Kentucky history, because this is the county where Lincoln, when he was 9 years old, exits out of Kentucky. He goes into Indiana. So that's what's important about Breckenridge County. The disagreement took place in the foyer of the school building. Not exactly, no, that's not true. It was in the office. It wasn't in the foyer. So they're already lying. So this background information is bullshit. But it's interesting how people have to, in order to get objective justice, you need objective truth. But they're not caring about the objective truth. After Haynes had reneged on a deal to help Masters, a graduate school student, complete a school project. That is sort of the thing. I had some surveys and he said that he was going to do it. So he did break the contract. There was a verbal agreement that he was going to give the surveys to the social studies teacher. And it was just basic bunch of questions like these questions. Name one state that borders Canada. Name one state that borders Mexico. What is the capital of the United States? So this is the immigration questionnaire. In order to become naturalized as a American citizen, immigrants have to pass this questionnaire. So I just took questions from this test, and then I was going to just survey them to see how good our social studies classes are. Are they teaching civics? Are they teaching the Constitution? Are they teaching that, you know, this country is a nation of freedom, a nation of free people? And then also I had another question on there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much freedom and democracy do you have? Well, that's going to be the kicker question, right? They know that there's no freedom. There's no democracy. You're a damn student. Shut up and sit down. So that's the problem that they had with the questions. During the disagreement, Haynes asked Masters to leave the school premises multiple times. Not true. How many more fucking lies are we going to base this shit on? So basically, even though Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett, they're going to have that exchange, you're not going to see Nancy Mace get arrested. You're not going to see Nancy Mace, she's not going to get a warrant for her arrest. She's not going to have to go to court. She's not going to have to answer charges. She's not going to have to get a public defender. And then she's not going to have to go to the media. She isn't going to have to do any of this stuff. Because immediately she, you know, walks it back, right? Do you want to take this outside? Well, she called her child, so her calling her child is fighting words. Her saying, do you want to take this outside? You know, that could be interpreted as fighting words as well. And breaching a contract. Oh, you said you was going to do the survey thing, and now you're not going to do the survey thing? And I'll get down to exactly what had happened, but there's already so many lies already. During the disagreement, Haynes asked Masters to leave the school premises multiple times. No, he did not. He asked me to leave one time, and when he left, when he told me to leave, you know, I got up and I was mad about it, and I just said, well, I brought the Snickers, you know, for the secretary. You could keep those. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders as if, oh, okay, that's not a big deal. And then I was walking out of the office. It wasn't in the foyer. It was in the office. So they have a secretary's office, a little bench right there, a little countertop. It was in the main office, the little secretary office. So he only said it once. He only said it one time. So we're going to sit there and just lie on top of lie on top of lie. When you read Framed, it's actually incredible how many times the people who tell the truth get in trouble, and then the people who lie, they don't get in any trouble whatsoever, goddamned ever. Masters responded by calling Haynes a profane name and proposing that the two resolve their differences by fighting outside. What was this profane name? What was the profane name? You know, I'm not even sure what they're talking about. Did I call him an asshole? I can't even remember if I said that he was an asshole. What I did say, right before I walked out of the office, I turned around and I was like, well, if you would like to take a step outside, we could do that too. He shrugged like he just, you know, was being Mr. Tough Guy, this short little fucking bald-headed fucking prick who said he was going to do the survey, so you're supposed to be a man of your own word. You just heard Andy Beshear saying that you're supposed to be a man of your word. So that's interesting that he says that now, right, you know, 11 years later, because he didn't think that at the time. This Keith Haynes, wasn't being a man of his own word, and proposed that the two resolve their differences by fighting outside. Again, this is not the case, right? Just like Nancy Mace, if you want to take this outside, do you want to take this outside? Would you like to go outside with me, you know? So how can we interpret that? Well, you can interpret him saying, you need to leave right now. After I got the third no, right, he says he couldn't do it. I said, well, did you ask the social, studies teacher? Yeah, I asked. She didn't want to do it. Oh, okay, but you're the principal, how could she say no to that? When I said you're the principal, when I kind of was, pointing at his lack of authority in the situation, then he got pissed off. So I used to go get signatures for Ralph Nader, and I would get 3 no's before I would walk on, and then I would just say thank you for your time, and then I would walk away. But, Keith Haynes don't know how to treat people, so he's not just going to say no, no, no. The third no, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do it, so get the hell out of here. When I walked into the office, the whole damn staff was acting weird as shit, too. They weren't going to do it. They weren't going to do it because I asked if there was freedom and democracy in the public schools, and there was not freedom and democracy in the public schools. I was also asking them basic questions of civics, and they know that they weren't teaching basic questions of civics. They know that they weren't teaching basic questions of civics. They know it. Specifically, Masters invited Haynes to meet him outside so he could kick Haynes' ass. Again, a fucking lie. Bunch of fucking lying motherfuckers. A bunch of lying ass pieces of shit. Maines left after Haynes declined the invitation. He didn't decline. He just stood there like a dumb motherfucker. Do you want to take us outside? He just stood there stupid. And then I waited for a second, and then I left. There was no more words at all. He didn't say yes or no to that. Then I just walked outside. and then walked to my truck, got in my truck, and I drove away. Had no intentions of, doing anything else. Later on, Haynes is going to, say that he put the whole school on lockdown and how he was just so scared and so afraid. No, he knows the fucking judge, so he just got on the phone to his little fucking corrupt judge, and it wasn't that Brett guy, Butler, it was a lady. The judge was a female. Butler was the attorney at the time, the prosecutor. So I forget who that female was, but she was a fucking piece of shit as well. She was just a fascist piece of shit. If you're kidnapped, if you got a ticket, then clearly the presumption of guilt, that's not a presumption of innocence. You're guilty until you prove your innocence. So we're already lying. I never threatened to kick his ass. I can't even remember saying any kind of profane name. If I did say he's an ass, I don't remember saying he was an asshole. So since they've already lied 3 or 4 times, he told him to leave multiple times. No, he said once, and as soon as he said that I should leave, then I got up, and, I was upset. You can have your Snickers. Keep the Snickers that I bought for you, because, I'm good people, so bought the secretaries, a thing of Snickers. I was happy that they were doing the surveys for me, and then actually come to find out, I didn't even have to go to the school for the graduate school project. I didn't even have to go. I was just supposed to design the questionnaire, so I didn't even actually have to get it implemented. But, people make mistakes. And Tolan v. Cotton, the mistake there was the guy ran the license plate, and he said that the car was stolen. But oops, it turns out that he ran the wrong license plate number. He's going to end up shooting the Tolan anyways. Cotton shot Tolan because he made a mistake. Regardless, as a citizen, I could go in and ask the principal, hey, will you do some surveys? I'm trying to figure this out. But ultimately, I'm exposing their lack of education. They don't care about civics. They don't care about teaching the Bill of Rights. They don't care about teaching that we live in a freedom and democracy kind of country. That's the problem with public schools. I'm straight A student, valedictorian, graduated college, so I'm one of the best, right? But it's incredible that if you make straight A's and you're valedictorian and you graduate college and then you go back to these fucking pieces of shit, bureaucratic, mediocres. If you go back to the mediocres, then they get all pissed off about you asking some tough questions. They know that they wasn't teaching civics. They know that I went to public schools. There's zero freedom, zero democracy, and they know it. They know it. So I didn't specifically say, just like Nancy Mace didn't say that she was going to kick Jasmine Crockett's ass. And if they would have asked, Nancy Mace to leave, then isn't there an implied threat with that? So not only was it breach of contract, he said he was going to do a thing. You're supposed to be a man of your word, which he was not. But then also he says you need to leave. You need to leave. Okay, there was no arguing about whether or not I needed to leave. It was about whether or not he was going to do the surveys like he said that he was going to do. And so, you need to leave. I got up. I said, you can keep the Snickers. And then as I walked out the door, I said, well, we could just take this outside if you want to. It's very similar to Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett. But Nancy Mace doesn't live in a corrupt state, doesn't live in a corrupt county. And apparently Jasmine Crockett doesn't have a judge on speed dial that will just issue a warrant. Did he actually fill out an affidavit? Did he actually do anything like that? No. That's how, these mediocre motherfuckers, they know that there's no freedom and democracy. They know they have no ethics. They know that they're oppressor molesters, and they're just fast as fucks, and they know that they were just being oppressive as shit. They know that they weren't teaching civics. They know their students didn't know the 3 branches of government or the enumerated powers or Constitution or the Bill of Rights. They know that they didn't know federalism or the rule of law. They know that they didn't know it. They know it. So they didn't want to do the surveys and, be embarrassed that their school is crap. Once Masters was off campus, then Keith Haynes placed the school in a temporary lockdown. Why is he doing this shit? So if Jasmine Crockett asked Nancy Mace to leave, well then Nancy Mace better fucking leave. She better not argue. If Jasmine Crockett tells her 3 times she needs to go, then she just needs to go. Once Masters was off campus, Keith Haynes placed the school in a temporary lockdown. Hey, can you stop that? Keith Haynes also contacted the Breckinridge County Attorney's Office, criminal complaints. The Masters was charged with KRS 161-190, misdemeanor offense, but the statute is abuse of a teacher. This is a principal. Abuse You know, I got hit so many times as a kid, getting drugged through the damn fucking hallways and shit. So just getting hit over and over again. Abuse is, how do you quantify abuse? What, 6 or 12 times? There is no abuse. There is no violence. There is no assault whatsoever, goddamn ever. And if you want to say, well, you know, he said, you want to take it outside. How do boxers fight? Don't you get to ask the other person, hey, you know, do you want to do this for charity? Do you want to do it for the show, for the people? Do you want to box? Do you want to box? So it was definitely a question. If you want to, we could just take this outside, just like Nancy Mace. It was conditional. Do you want to take this outside? If you want, we could take this outside. And so it was a conditional thing, and then he just stood there, so it seemed like he wasn't accepting of my offer. And so that's the biggest difference between Nancy Mace and me. Nancy Mace didn't live in a corrupt fucking county where Jasmine Crockett had known the judge, and if she would have called the judge and then put charges on, and then that means Nancy Mace would have a warrant out for her arrest, and then Nancy Mace would have to be arrested, would have to go to jail, and then she would have to answer for her crimes. But the way I look at Jasmine Crockett and Nancy Mace was both of them were kind of being disorderly, both of them were being rude, and both of them were issuing fighting words. There's a principle that says whenever there's a fight that happens, he blames both of them most of the time because the other one was jawing, the other one was talking some smack. And so Keith Haynes was talking smack. Keith Haynes had broke the contract. Keith Haynes had threatened, you know, he said, you better leave. And if I didn't leave, were you going to put hands on me? Are you going to call somebody to put hands on me? That was a threat. That was a threat. That wasn't a conditional threat. You better leave. I'm a fastest fucking violent piece of shit, and if you don't do as I command you to do, then violence will happen. So his command was a threat. Mine was optional. He could have chose to walk outside with me, and then when I walked outside, we could have had a cup of coffee. We could have had a nice little conversation. We could have just gone skipping through the lilacs, you know, skipping through the meadow. The full text of the statute, abuse of a teacher. Whenever a teacher, classified employee, or school administrator is functioning in his capacity as an employee of a board of education of a public school system, it shall be unlawful for any person to direct speech or conduct toward the teacher, classified employee, or school administrator when such a person knows or should know that the speech or conduct will disrupt or interfere with normal school activities or will nullify or undermine the good order and discipline of the school. Let's just go with that definition right there. It was just me and him. Me and him was in the office. He asked me, you know, I asked him 3 times, different ways. Will you still do it? Can you just hand it to her? Will you just hand it to her? You're the principal. How come she isn't listening to you? That was it. And then he says, leave. And then I said, you can have your Snickers. And then I, you know, said, do you want to take this outside? And then I walked out the door. That was it. It was only me and him. It was in the office. It wasn't in no damn foyer. I mean, they're just lying. It's incredible how people, in order to form a, you know, a conclusion, they had already come, right? A pre-thought of conclusion. They wanted their narrative to come up with the conclusion that they had already thought was the case. Well, clearly you have the warrant and you're here, so you must be guilty of something that's a presumption of guilt, and then you have to prove your damn innocence. The Norfolk 4, man, the stuff that in this book framed, it's actually incredible how cops will go through, they would hear a confession of something and still want to go after the innocent people that they had, you know, been working on and filing a case and doing paperwork on. You got 8 innocent people over there and 2 people just confessed to it, but they still want to throw the 8 innocent people away. So this doesn't even say, like, if there is an assault, it's saying, does it interfere with normal school activities or undermine the good order and discipline of the school? That is very generic and it is very vague. There was no abuse whatsoever. There was no assault whatsoever. And do you want to take it outside is optional, just like Nancy Mace. Do you want to take it outside? It's the exact same thing. And she says the same thing I said. She had freedom of speech. She had freedom of speech. She was insulted by being called a child. I was insulted by his breach of contract and for him threatening when he said I had to leave or else, right? In the subsequent criminal proceedings, Masters filed a motion challenging the constitutionality of KRS 161. 190, that was actually my public defender, Josh somebody. A really good guy, actually. Like, not a public pretender, but a defender. The statute from Masters' perspective punished more behavior than necessary, did not define some of its key terms, and chilled otherwise protected speech. It absolutely does. So if a parent gets mad at, you know, some administrator, some bureaucrat in school, is that abuse of a teacher too? The district court denied the motion. The jury ultimately found Masters guilty of the offense, and he was fined $500. Following his conviction and sentence, Masters appealed the case to the circuit court. He once again argued that KRS 161-190 was unconstitutional. It went to the circuit court. They're acting like there was like so many different... None of this, the way that they're saying it isn't how it happened. There was a corrupt fucking judge, and then it was like, hey, I think what you just did was... wasn't on the up and up. Well, it was on the up and up. Oh, okay. So that, I guess, you could still be in district and circuit court even though you're in the same damn courtroom with the same damn judge. The statute isn't overly broad. I even had this right here where I had a motion of Amici Curiae. So I had these two nice gentlemen, Clay Calvert and then Frank LoMonte, who had from Florida had said that, that they were going to help me with my case. And you think my damn lawyer? Who was my damn lawyer in this? This guy fucked everything up. Let's see here. I'm not sure who the lawyer was in this thing, but he fucked the whole thing up. He called me up and he's just being an asshole to me, and then, I have to be an asshole back to him. I don't like being an asshole to people. I have to steamroll over him, and I got to say, you better, do your job right, or else I'll just take the case myself, is what I should have said. But that's me today. That's not me 11 years ago. So the statute from Masters' perspective, the district court denied the motion. The jury ultimately, why would the district court deny the motion? Because she's a corrupt piece of shit. She's friends with Keith Haynes, and Keith Haynes, he could just call his little corrupt judge buddy. They also make 6 fucking figures. They get pensions forever and ever, and they're also allowed to run a private practice. So there's conflict of interest all over the place. They made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm because he needed to be the best damn president. But they don't care if the judges and the prosecutors in Kentucky are the best damn judges and prosecutors in Kentucky. If you run a private practice, so somebody can pay you $1,000 to, either prosecute or to defend the case of something they're involved in, either criminal or civil case. And once you pay that prosecutor $1,000 to defend your case, is he going to try to prosecute you later on? He's getting money from you, so he don't want to go after his money-making people, right? Clear conflict of interest, clear corruption. We want judges and prosecutors that across the board goes after people who assault, people who arson, people who rape, people who steal, people who murder, across the board. Because the rule of law says that nobody's allowed to rape or steal or assault or arson or murder. Nobody's allowed to commit crimes against anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy. It doesn't matter if you're in a position of authority. Nobody's allowed to break the law. So I would like to think that the law is, there's equal protection in the law. The circuit court also ruled that the words Masters used were not protected speech, but fighting words under Chaplinsky versus the state of New Hampshire. Well, there's Chaplinsky again. So Chaplinsky, he had called a police officer. Chaplinsky had called a police officer a fascist. He had called him a racketeer. And so calling somebody a child, calling somebody any kind of name, asshole, bitch, stupid, any kind of name you call somebody could absolutely rise. I mean, that's what Chaplinsky did. He called him a racketeer. How hilarious. He didn't say, you're a child, son. He said, you're a racketeer. I feel like if someone called me a racketeer, I would laugh in their face. What are you, some sort of racketeer? You're a racketeer? And so by using their little narrative that I said, hey, I'm going to kick your ass I didn't say I'm going to kick his ass when I goes out there. None of this is true, but they don't care about the truth, so they don't care about justice. They just want to say that the system works, and if a cop kidnaps somebody and a warrant was issued and there's a trial and the judges were doing something, then it's all hunky-dory, it's all okay, it's all A-okay. Whether a criminal statute is constitutional is a legal question for the courts to review. De novo, Will Fong v. Commonwealth. Yeah, they sit there and quote all this stuff as if they're being fair. Masters urges this court. It was my lawyer, my appeals lawyer, so my public pretender from the appeals court. He's the one that's saying this, so it's like I'm saying it, but basically he had told me, he had insulted me. When he first called me up, he had said, hey, are you in jail right now? I called you from a cell phone, motherfucker. I'm in jail. So he's basically saying, are you a fucking felon, criminal fuck calling out of jail right now with a stolen damn cell phone? Is that what you're doing? I was just so insulted by it. It was like, man, You know, basically I'm the same age as you, and because I had, you know, a shitty home life and I had abusive parents, and then I went to college and they fucked me the fuck over as much as possible. Okay, you had supportive parents, or you knew that your parents was crap and you just did it on your own. So, you know, basically we're the same age, same level of intelligence, same level of knowledge. And he's sitting there, you know, trying to talk down to me. So Chaplinsky decision, my own fucking public defender was, you know, issuing fighting words. And because I didn't, you know, stand up to him, I basically, I felt like he lost the case. I was like, oh shit, he's going to take this case away from me, and then he's just going to lose it straight up. He first claims the statute offends due process because its language is too vague to notify a person of ordinary intelligence when it's applicable, then claims that the statute is overly broad because it criminalizes speech. From there, Masters claims the statute is unlawfully applied to him, maintains the particular words he used during the disagreement were protected by the First Amendment. For the following reasons, we disagree. Well, they're going to, you know, basically base everything of what this had been written up here. So, does the truth matter? Of course the truth matters. Did Jasmine Crockett say that she was going to kick Jasmine, you know, did Nancy May say she was going to kick Jasmine Crockett's ass? She didn't say that. She said, do you want to take it outside? But the implication is clear. Now, when you call somebody a child, are you showing hatred or contempt for that person? Of course. When you know, name calling is showing contempt. I mean, this is Chaplinsky and this is Hobbes. Now, I used to call myself a free speech absolutist. The rule is you have a right to speak in America. There are some notable exceptions. The main one is you can't threaten somebody. If you threaten somebody, well, then that means that you're going to, you know, do something to that person. So if you're like, well, I'm gonna, you know, drive over your dog tomorrow, you better watch yourself. You know, that's, should we be protecting that kind of speech? I don't think so. But opinion about, you know, the budget, yeah, that's protected speech. So they're basing, you know, I just pointed out a bunch of lies, and I pointed out a bunch of lies when this had happened too. I was also running for lieutenant governor when this whole damn thing happened. And do you think the media cared about my policy proposals? No, they just like the goddamn gossip. They just want to be like, well, one guy, what's his name, Joe Gerhart, he had said that I was screaming at him. There was no screaming. I was cool, calm, and collected. There wasn't any screaming whatsoever. Goddamn ever. Now I'm a little bit meaner. You know, I've been cussing up a storm this entire time because I was working on being a damn teacher. But I was going to be a cool teacher that actually taught the students, you know, something that was worthy of learning. And because I had been a cool teacher who wasn't going to oppress the living crap out of them, and I was actually going to teach them things that were worth knowing, well, that would definitely have caused the other teachers jealousy. And especially if you're a totalitarian fascist, then you know, just know that you're supposed to oppress everybody equally all throughout the, you know, the school doors. And so that's important. That's important because by them denying me of doing the profession that I was aiming to do, and now I have to fight, you know, these court cases. I also had, you know, issues with my parents. There was a restraining order, and so then I moved to Somerset, and then I moved to Burnside, and then I moved to a Letcher County spot, just out in the hills of Letcher County, and then I moved to the state of Virginia, Grundy, and then after that I got sick of moving and said, you know what, I've been hanging on to Kentucky for way too long, and then I moved out to Colorado. So this is definitely one of the push factors for me moving out to Colorado. Now I'm trying to make this under 30 minutes, so I just want to review the lies, okay? I want to review the lies. There was a verbal disagreement. That's true. Keith Haynes, yep, there was a short little bald fucking piece of shit. The principal of Clover Independent Schools. I'm saying a lot of, you know, I guess in terms of Chaplinsky, fighting words online, but I'm trying to get my point across, and frankly, people haven't been listening to me, so I feel like if something ever happened to me, at least, you know, me saying what had happened and me saying, I'm remonstrating, I am saying what I said very specifically. I'm not trying to entice anybody to fight. I'm just saying it was bullshit that this stupid ass douchebag, because he's a mediocre douchebag, fucked me the fuck over. And it is bullshit that he did that. According to Jim Carrey, violence should never happen because of words. Keith Haynes threatened me first. Keith Haynes had breach a contract, reneged on the deal that he said he was going to do because he knew that his school wasn't teaching civics and he knew that his school didn't have any freedom and democracy. He was not teaching young Americans that we live in a freedom and democracy kind of country. I went to public schools in Kentucky, so, there are some good teachers, but I could count the good teachers on one hand. I never said I was going to kick his ass. I don't remember calling him any profane name. He didn't ask me to leave multiple times. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. This guy just took a molehill and made a mountain of it. You saw what happened between Jasmine Crockett and Nancy Mace. If you thought one of them should have been arrested, I don't hear anybody calling for the arrest of Jasmine Crockett nor of Nancy Mace. I don't see any judges filing any warrants whatsoever. But if one of them was arrested, if one of the judges, there was a corrupt judge and they went ahead and took the damn case, then people would say, well, the system is right, the system does what it's supposed to do, and now she shouldn't have said it. Well, which one shouldn't have said it? Jasmine shouldn't have said it, or Nancy shouldn't have said it? Both of them were being dicks, both of them were being assholes, and then after they had their little verbal spat, then it was smoothed over, and then they had like 15 minutes to make their points. So the one side could say their points and the other side could say their points, and no charges were filed. There was no corruption whatsoever. And I think that's ultimately how this matter should have been handled. He fucked me over. He lied to me. He threatens me. I said, you want to take a step outside? I drive away. And then that's it. He fucked me the fuck over.